One key thing you may notice here is that we have now a view feedback button on the lesson plan we planned on September 10th. This button will only appear once an administrator has left feedback on the individual lesson. So you can very quickly and easily see that feedback by clicking the view feedback button here, and it'll bring up the lesson on the left as well as whatever the feedback was on the right-hand side here. In here, we can actually see that the administrator left a prompt asking that the teacher include a handout in the lesson plan. From here, as a teacher, it's possible to click the reply button and once you go ahead and hit enter on that, it'll add the reply so that the administrator receives a notification letting them know that you've seen their feedback and you've actually replied to that feedback. If we go ahead and click the X button, we can see how for each lesson that doesn't have feedback on it, won't have the view feedback option. So you might be thinking to yourself, that might be very tedious to go through and look through each individual date to see where feedback has been left. Don't worry, we've implemented some different things to make it easier to find where there might be feedback within Chalk. The first thing you'll want to do is look at your notifications in the top right, and under your notifications, you'll be able to see whether or not someone has left feedback for you. If you click on that option, it should bring you directly to seeing that feedback where you can then review it and potentially reply to it if that fits. The other option I want to highlight for you is the feedback page. To access this, we're going to use the main menu in the top left corner and select feedback. From here, we'll see a timeline of all the feedback that's been left to us, throughout the school year. On the left, we can see the various subjects, so we can hone in on a specific subject. So if we wanted to select English Language Arts, for example, we can see that we don't currently have any feedback for that subject. If we look at our math morning block, however, we can see that there are already 2 pieces of feedback shown, and they're shown in a timeline based on when those lessons are planned, with the more recent lessons being at the top and the older ones below. If we want to see more detail so that we know the context of the lesson plan feedback, we can click View Lesson, which brings us to the view where we can see the lesson on the left-hand side, as well as the feedback on the right-hand side. You can also select lesson details here to see some other details about when you taught the lesson, when you last updated the lesson, as well as any standards or expectations that have been associated, and any attachments that have been added to that lesson plan. Once you're done looking at that, you can click the X and scroll through and look at any other feedback that you'd like to, as well as have the option to reply to the feedback directly from here. And finally, we have some filters on the right-hand side where you can adjust the start and end date range as you see fit. So for example, if you want to hone in on 1 month, you can use those options there. Similarly, you can hone in on specific individuals who have left feedback for you. So maybe you're more concerned with looking at what your instructional coach has written to you as opposed to what the principal has written to you, or whatever those roles might be. Note that only administrators are able to leave feedback on lesson plans, and it'll very likely be your administrator name showing here when you're coming in to filter by specific authors.